Today we're going to do something a little bit different than the normal top 10, top 15 lists and stuff like that, and we're just going to talk about the Ottawa Senators and how they've been surprising a lot of people so far this season. And as always, if you guys are new and have been enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily NHL videos and click the bell to turn on notifications so that you never miss one of those videos. And one more thing before we actually get into talking about the Senators, if you guys have any video suggestions at all, make sure to let me know down in the comment section below. I'm always open to hearing new ideas from you guys. As everybody knows, over the past 2 years, the Ottawa Senators have kind of been the laughingstock of the NHL. Last year, they finished with a league-worst 64 points, and they didn't even have their first-round pick, so they weren't really playing for much at all last year. But there definitely was some bright spots in the Senators season last year. You had the emergence of Thomas Shabbat and his amazing sophomore season, and you had Brady Tkachuk come in right after being drafted and having a strong rookie campaign. And the Senators also traded away a bunch of their core guys, Mark Stone, and they got a pretty good return in that deal, most notably Eric Brandstrom, who definitely looks like a promising blue liner for them. And they also got decent stuff in return for the future when they traded away guys like Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel. And heading into this season, no one really gave Ottawa a chance, and a lot of people had them penciled in to finish last in the entire NHL, and obviously maybe besides Senators fans, because you obviously always have optimism for your favorite team. And to start the season, it looked like everybody was right. The Ottawa Senators were 1-6-1 through their first 8 games of the season, and things were just looking like they were going to go as expected, and Ottawa was going to finish in the basement of the league. But over the past month, they've really changed the narrative, and especially in their last 10 games, they've been very good. They're 7-3 in their last 10 and have won 3 games in a row, and it seems like there's just a swagger and confidence about some of these guys on the team that makes them so difficult to play against. Following the Senators' 4-1 win last night against the Rangers, in which Ottawa looked fantastic, Shabbat had some comments that really stood out to me. He said, "I think everybody's buying in, everybody is sticking together. I think we believe in ourselves, we buy into the system, and I think we're doing a great job so far." And I think Shabbat saying those things is a very good sign for the Ottawa Senators organization, especially for a team that had little to no expectations at all heading into the year, and you have one of your franchise cornerstones sounding pretty confident about the team about a month and a half into the season. So how exactly is a team that was supposed to be so bad coming into the year doing pretty well and only finding themselves a couple points out of a playoff spot right now? Well, I think a lot of things factor into it. Obviously, you have numerous players on the team having a career year, and I feel like this team just has an underdog mentality. They want to prove a lot of people wrong, and they don't go into any game thinking that they're gonna lose. They always feel like they have a chance to win, and it shows in the way they've been playing over the past 10 games. I want to quickly take a look at some of their leading scorers right now, and starting off with Gabriel Pezzo, who has definitely been a great story for this team, and of late he's been one of the hottest players in the NHL. In 23 games this season, he has 13 goals and 6 assists for 19 total points. He's a guy who is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season, so it's going to be interesting to see what Ottawa decides to do with him. If he continues to play this well, his trade value is only going to go up, and I think there would be a lot of teams at the deadline looking for a third or second line center like Pezzo that can help score. And then second on the team in scoring, you have Anthony Duclair, somebody who has bounced around the league a lot over the past couple of years, and it's seeming like he has found a home here in Ottawa, as he has 10 goals and 5 assists for 15 points through the first 23 games of the season. And Anthony Duclair is definitely still young and is kind of reviving his career this season, and definitely could be a part of the future here in Ottawa, because like I said, he's still a very young player with a lot of upside, and he's showing that this season. And then third on the team in scoring, you have Connor Brown, who came over in the trade from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's been playing very well with 2 goals and 12 assists for 14 points. And then fourth on the team in scoring, you have Thomas Shabbat with 14 points, and obviously he's a guy you expect to be up there. And then you also have Brady Tkachuk with 14 points, and he's off to a little bit of a slow start. Maybe people expected a little bit of a bigger jump from him this season, but still, Tkachuk isn't playing bad, and the season is obviously very long, and we're still only about a month and a half in, and Brady Tkachuk definitely could get hot and start putting up some bigger numbers and just make this Ottawa team that much better. And then after Tkachuk, you have Vladislav Nemestikov with 12 points in 22 games, and he's not an old player by any means either, and like Duclair, if he continues to play well, maybe Ottawa wants to keep him around for the future. And for a team that has had such a dark cloud hovering over them over the past 2 years, it really is nice to see them get off to a pretty decent start to the season, especially after nobody had expectations for them at all heading into the year, and it's giving fans something to be excited about and a reason to have optimism about this team. As of the time I'm recording this video, the Senators currently have a record of 11 wins, 11 losses, and 1 overtime loss for 23 points, which currently puts them at 6th place in the Atlantic Division. But they are tied with the Buffalo Sabres, as they also have 23 points. It's just Buffalo has a game in hand, so they're in 5th place, and then the Toronto Maple Leafs have 24 points with 24 games played, so Ottawa is only 1 win away from jumping up to 4th in the division. And right now, looking at the wildcard race, the Philadelphia Flyers currently hold the second wildcard spot with 27 points, and that just leaves the Ottawa Senators 4 points out of a playoff spot right now. And yes, it is very early in the season, but again, this team hasn't had a lot to cheer about, so it is really nice to see them having some success. And another player I want to touch on who's been very impressive and a big reason for their turnaround is goaltender Nielsen, who currently has a record of 7-4-1 with a 2.63 goals against and a .928 save percentage. Craig Anderson got off to a really rocky start to the season, but ever since they've been relying on Nielsen a lot more, that is when the team really started to turn their season around, and I definitely think if Nielsen keeps this up, he could throw his name in the Vezina Trophy conversation if Ottawa gets anywhere near the playoffs. Obviously, that is a long shot, and it's looking way too far ahead into the future, but crazier things have happened in the NHL. Now, I'm just taking a look at the Ottawa Senators schedule here, and I think their next 6 games are going to be very telling on if this team is for real or not. And obviously, I don't really expect them to keep this up. I don't see them making the playoffs, but again, crazier things have happened, and even if they get close to the playoffs, that would definitely be considered a successful year for them. So the next game is at Columbus on November 25th. That is definitely a winnable game, but then their next 5 are pretty difficult. They go home to play Boston on November 27th, and obviously we all know how good the Bruins are. And then after that game against the Boston Bruins, they go out west for a 4-game road trip, and those Western Conference swings are never easy for Eastern Conference teams. The road trip starts out with a back-to-back against the Minnesota Wild and the Calgary Flames on November 29th and November 30th, and obviously Minnesota, that's a very winnable game. They haven't been very good this season, and same goes for Calgary, but you can't take them lightly because there still is a lot of firepower on that team. And then they finish out the Western Conference swing with a back-to-back against Vancouver and Edmonton, and obviously Vancouver have been sliding a little bit of late, but you gotta take them seriously because they've been relatively good to start the season. And then you have the Oilers, who have one of the best duos in NHL history of McDavid and Draisaitl, and all in all have been a great team to start the season. So if Ottawa can even come out of this road trip with like a 4-2 record or even like a 3-3 record, I think that would go a long way in building even more confidence, and then obviously their schedule gets a little bit easier after that. So that's basically all I have to say on the Senators. They've definitely impressed me and proven me wrong to start the season, and again, like I said earlier, I don't really expect it to keep up at this rate. I think they probably will fall back and eventually finish as like a bottom 5 team in the league, but for right now, since they're playing very well, I suggest Ottawa fans enjoy this as long as possible because again, they haven't had much to cheer for over the past 2 years. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below, how do you feel about the Senators so far this season, especially if you are a fan of the team. You definitely know better than I do. What has been the key to success so far this season for the Senators, and do you expect it to keep up? With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in tomorrow's video.